That's just so funny. What do you mean? Oh, I'm really not okay. One book closer to being finished. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Emmy. Make sure you subscribe if you like book content, reading vlogs, things like that. And if I'm not posting here, you can always find me over on my book talk because I post there every single day. Today we are doing another continuing reading book series that I'm in the middle of. No, let's say that again. Continuing series I'm in the middle of reading. That doesn't sound right. You get the gist. I personally don't like to read too many book series at once. A lot of people say to me that I read a lot of book series at the same time and they don't understand how my brain can do that, but I personally think I don't read that many series at once. Typically what I do is start a book series and then finish it in that month, right? So if I pick up book one and it's 3 books, I'm gonna try and read all 3 books back to back. But sometimes the books aren't released yet. The first or second book wasn't so great that I'm not like itching to pick up the third, or I just picked it up and it was really good but I need a bit of a breather in between picking up the next one because it's intense. I have a list on my phone of all the series that I'm in the middle of. Now these are the main book series that I'm currently in the middle of reading. We've got The Plated Prisoner and I have only Gold to read. Goldfinch is going to be released later this year, so once I read Gold I will be up to date with the series. We have From Blood and Ash and Flesh and Fire. Now that is 2 series, but they are interconnected. One's a prequel series and it's recommended to read them in the publishing order. After reading a certain amount of Blood and Ash books, you jump back and forth between Blood and Ash and Flesh and Fire. So there's 6 books in there that I need to read and I have half of them on my shelf. So I've got to read The War of Two Queens next, which is Blood and Ash book 4, so then I can read A Light in the Flame, which is Flesh and Fire book 2. We've got The Red Queen, because I read the first book physically and then found out that it was on Kindle Unlimited, and I do kind of want to read the rest of the series. The War of Lost Hearts, I read Daughter of No Worlds and I have to say, I just don't know if that book series is for me. I just think it's something to do with the author. Like, I really loved Six Scorched Roses, but I feel lukewarm about The Serpent and the Wings of Night, but I did not enjoy The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. I really loved Six Scorched Roses. I just think her writing is so beautiful. I just don't connect with her characters. I don't know, there's something missing for me with her books. So everyone was like, read Daughter of No Worlds, so I did. It was okay. Like, it was a bit underwhelming. I just don't know if that's the thing with me, just it's not the author for me. So that's a series that I do want to continue, but I also like really need to be in the mood for it, otherwise I'm just not going to enjoy myself. And then we have Belladonna. I need to read Foxglove, which is book 2 in the series, but I have been waiting for the paperback release of that, which is not coming out until later this year. So that's one where I'm like not in an immediate rush to read because Wisteria also comes out later this year, which is book 3, the final book, I believe, in the trilogy. I also have the Bargainer series, which I read earlier this year and didn't really enjoy the ending. I'm unsure if I want to continue the series. The Sacred Stones trilogy is also another one I'm unsure if I want to continue. Well, they're all the books that I have that are in a series that I've read. Now I have a lot of series on my bookshelves, like Feybound book 2 is gonna come out I think next year. I'm not gonna continue reading that because I didn't like book 1. Crimson Moth is coming out next year. I've already pre-ordered that. I have Throne of the Fallen, but that's like an interconnected standalone series, spin-off series from Kingdom of the Wicked, and I've not read that, but I have pre-ordered book 2 already. So I don't know, maybe I'll read that. Already pre-ordered book 3 in the Lightlark saga. I'm up to date with the Book of Azrael. I just read Reckless. Already pre-ordered the 3rd book, Onyx Storm, for 4th Wing. Pretty much up to date, or have pre-ordered the next books in the series because they're not actually out yet. So I think what I'm gonna do in this vlog is just mood read but finish books that I have on this list. I'm also going to write out the books I have on my shelf and how many books are in each series, because I think that will determine like what I could pick up next for my TBR, or if I'm mood reading, if there's like a duology on there, then I can just read that and get 2 books out of the way. For now, we're definitely starting with The Plated Prisoner because there's only 1 book on that list and I actually want to read that. I picked it up last night. We are like 225 pages into the book so far, which is just under 40% of the way through, so I'm making pretty good progress. The books are big but the pages are printed quite large, so I feel like you fly through it really easy. The chapters are short. The last book I read was Reckless by Lauren Roberts and that's a 6-star read for me, so I wanted something that I knew wouldn't slump me out. World with characters that I already love, that's just easy to read. Probably not going to be 5 stars, but will keep me in a good headspace, because the last thing I want right now is to have a terrible book reading experience and feel like I'm gonna get in a slump. So if I read Gold and finish it, I feel good. I feel like I'm ticking off a book on my list and we're making some progress, and then we're up to date. I would like to finish it today. I would like to get as close to finishing it as I can, and I would like to pick something else up. And that's something else I think we're gonna have to tackle from Blood and Ash and Flesh and Fire. Both of these books, I'm pretty sure, like, I read these series in my last continuing the books I'm reading series. I don't know, we might read 5 books in this vlog. I feel like that's a good number for me. Typically I'll read like 3 to 5, so I don't know how long I'm going to be recording this vlog for. We're going to make our way through some of these books and tick them off our list, because then at least if I tick off from Blood and Ash and Flesh and Fire, I'll only have 4 books left to read. And I think one of them's a novella, but also someone in my comments said don't bother reading Blood and Ash after book 4. So I don't know. God, I'm so conflicted. So we are on chapter 23, page 259, and I'm honestly just gonna sit and binge as much of this as I can. I'm just under 50% of the way through, but like I mentioned, the pages are really quite large, so the writing in it is quite big. It's also like such a floppy book. Like, how satisfying is this? We know I love a floppy book. I want to get it finished today. I feel like I can. The story is going quite fast, but I don't know. The last book in the series, as I have mentioned in my wrap up and like reviews and my reading vlog where I read it when I was on my summer holiday, it's a transitionary book, so not too much plot was happening, and we are already getting more action in here, but I honestly have no idea where the story is going to go. I know where I want it to go, I just don't know if it's going to go there. So I'm going to put on some noise cancelling headphones and just sit and read. One thing about this book in particular is, I don't know if it's just me, but the writing in this so far has been a lot more poetic, like noticeably a lot more. I don't know if it's just borderline doing too much for me. I feel indifferent, to be honest about it. The whole time throughout this series, I've had no idea what's happening with Queen Melina's chapters. Like, it's very random, and I'm feeling like it's gonna come full circle and make sense at the end, or at least I'm hoping so. Because so far, it's just been like a separate storyline. So I'm like, when's it gonna come back and join, and then all the plots, all the points connect, you know, all the dots connect. Good morning everyone. I finished Gold last night, so that was read in 2 sittings. I'd say for me 3.75. Same rating as Glow. I just wanted a bit more. Personally, like when groups of characters get like separated, I just want them to come back together. So the whole time I'm reading this plot, I'm like, okay, let's speed things up a little bit, you know? I did like the ending, how things started to come together, and I feel like now got the overall picture, so we're ready for the next book, which I think is the last book, like ready to end it. But I don't know, I was expecting more after the last one being such a slow paced transitionary book. I was hoping that it would make up for it in this, but this was also still quite slow. But I did find Melina's chapters to be actually some of the more interesting ones in this book, and that's kind of saying a lot. So I'm glad I've got that done, and we are 1 book closer to being finished in this series. And I think next I'm going to read the next Blood and Ash book. It's time. Hello, my fan is on and I'm not going to turn it off, I am sorry. We are starting the War of Two Queens now, so I'm just gonna jump straight into it. But again, love a floppy book, and all these books are printed really floppy. Oh, there's a pronunciation guide. I can see how many things I've been pronouncing wrong. Ion, Aya, us, us. No, that can't be right. Belle Castile Denier. That's one thing really gets me in this book, is that some of the characters are named so similarly. Why do we have Nictus and Nictos? So when I'm reading it, I'm like, hang on a second. Seraphina. I thought it was Seraphina. Seraphina. That sounds... Seraphina. That sounds wrong. It should be Seraphina. I'm just gonna call her Seraphina. Padonia. It's a funny word. Anyways, I'm just gonna put on my brown noise and read the book. I can't lie guys, last night I only read 117 pages of this. I was so distracted, I don't know, I just could not stop picking up my phone. I'd close an app and then open another one, then close that and then go back to the other app. My brain was just really struggling yesterday, but I'm also not very well, so I think that's what it has to do with, or at least I'm gonna blame that. As soon as I put this on my Goodreads and marked it as currently reading, I started getting a few messages and comments about how excited people are for me to read this, because this is apparently a lot of people's favourite book in the series, and good stuff happens, at least I'm hoping, so I do want to sit and get this done tonight. So we've got 506 pages, so 5 hours. We're gonna get this done. I'm going to just read this tonight. I'm gonna put my noise cancelling headphones on. Every time I put my headphones on in a reading vlog as well, people are like, what are you listening to? I'm listening to brown noise. That's what I listen to when I read. So far, we've kind of had dual point of view, which we've not had in the book series so far, and I am very much enjoying it. I love a good dual POV chapter, one of my faves. But it's so weird because the last chapter I read, in the chapter itself, it was Castiel's point of view, and then halfway through the chapter it swapped Poppy's, rather than like one chapter Castiel, one chapter Poppy. So I don't know if that's going to be like that all the way through or how it's going to go, but I'm ready. I'm excited. I'm going to jump straight into reading this book. Don't want to delay it anymore. I've been reading for around an hour. We're 18 chapters in, 229 pages, and I'm going to pause to have some dinner and then I'll come back and pick it up. But things are progressing. There's been a few moments where I've been like, oh, okay. Already a fair bit of foreshadowing, like I feel like I know what's gonna happen plot-wise for this, but I'm loving how reading the first Shadow and the Ember Flesh and Fire book is like all connected to this. That's my favorite part, I can't lie. Like I'm loving getting like the crossovers and the references and the lore and the history, and it's making this such a more enjoyable read, so love it. We are finishing the rest in bed. I have 200 pages to go, so another 2 hours of reading. The plot twists are plot twisting. If you've read the books, you probably know what I mean. But I mean, one of the things that just came up, I'm kind of like, it feels a bit cliche. Did that really need to be? But I guess when we were told the full prophecy like 100 or so pages ago, could kind of see that that needed to happen, but it could have done without it. But the rest of it, let's get it finished. I think Reaver is one of my favorite characters in this book right now, because every scene that there's like a minor inconvenience, he's just like, can I burn them? Reaver. It's so funny. I really do enjoy these books. It's definitely a series that I drag my feet picking up because of how long the books are and how overly descriptive. Like I don't know why I always I'll push off reading that because it's a bit of a bigger commitment, but as soon as I'm reading that I'm like I love this world and these characters so much, and my fan is just blowing the books. I finished it last night. We did it. I can't believe it. I actually read it in just under 5 hours because I was timing it for like a mini reading TikTok vlog. I have to say, I think this was one of my favorite reads in the series so far. I think Blood and Ash, my favorite, my highest rated one. And I do think it was the best out of all 4 books that I've read so far in terms of just like the plot and the editing and everything. But because I'm so now attached to these characters and this world, I have like a deeper love for the series. So this was my favorite read so far. I don't know, I feel like I enjoyed reading this one the most out of them all because 1, dual point of view chapters with Cass and Poppy. 2, the crossovers with A Shadow and the Ember just scratched a part of my brain that I really enjoyed and appreciated, and now I want to go and jump straight back into A Shadow and the Ember, so that's what I'm going to read next. But 3, also because every 5 minutes Reva wanted to burn something or someone. I just thought it was so funny. Also, lasagna. The lasagna scene, so stupid, so ridiculously stupid, but I could not stop giggling. I just thought, oh my goodness, what am I reading? Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I think there was more action and more plot happening compared to the last two books. Plot and subplots of this story I enjoyed more. But I'd say, like, for me this series feels like a 4-star series. It would probably be less if you don't connect with the characters, just because the writing is so much heavier to read. Not clunky, but yeah, I guess I'd say clunky. It's just very overly descriptive. There's a fuck ton of words, and the pace is not very fast. I would say it's a slow to medium paced book. Because when you really think about how many books we're in so far and the timeline of events that have happened, it's not that long. But I'm excited now. Now I'm going into book 2 in Flesh and Fire. I have one physical copy of book 5 in Blood and Ash, and I don't have any of the other books that are out. Like, I don't have the novella after. I don't know if I need to read that. Can someone tell me if I have to? Because I kind of don't really want to. Some people have said to me that A Shadow in the Ember goes downhill from book 1, which I'm a little bit like, don't tell me that. I have book 2 and I've got book 3 in Flesh and Fire. And then is book 4 not coming out this year? I don't think it's out yet. And then that will be that series complete. The prequel series is only gonna have 4 books. I don't know how many is gonna come from Blood and Ash, but so many, that's gonna take me a while. This picks up from A Shadow in the Ember, which ended on like a big cliffhanger. Not reading this immediately after because I was on holiday. I was like, I immediately need the next book. But I was like, I have to read Blood and Ash book 4 first. But reading that and like getting to have these characters in those books and like finding out more information, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go back in here and find out. Like, let's read. I have to say, I love Niktos. I do. I feel like if I tried to explain any of these books past Blood and Ash book 1 to anyone who hasn't read them, they would not understand what I am talking about. Like, these books are so ridiculously in-depth in terms of like the world building, how everything works. It's so complex, but because I'm so far into it, I'm like, yeah, I get it, makes sense. But reading it, I'm like, wow, if someone was just going into this not having read any of the other books, they'd be like, the hell am I reading? I can't lie, it's a bit later now. I'm like around halfway through the book and I have had to pause a few times today. I don't know, this is just taking me a lot longer to read. My brain just cannot focus. I think it's because I'm unwell. Honestly, my body just wants to be asleep. But my brain is like, no, I want to read and I want to be awake. So there's just like this battle going on right now with me, and I've had to just like pause and take a lot of breaks. Cooper's also crying for my attention right now, aren't you? I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna move to bed and we're gonna read from the comfort of bed. Is that what we're gonna do? Because I'm getting a bit uncomfy here and I wanna be comfortable. And it's a Saturday night. I don't care if it's only like 8 p.m. I wanna read from my bed because I can. I found out that a book that I really wanna read is on Kindle Unlimited, but I'm gonna not read that in this vlog. I'm gonna read that in the next vlog that I'm filming. But I also don't want this to end, because I'm very much enjoying how things are right now, and I know that the point that we are in the book, that things are gonna just go tits up very soon and stuff's gonna go a little bit crazy. I don't really want them for these characters because I like them too much, and they honestly deserve to be happy and deserve a nice, quiet life together. But that can't be, because this is book 2 in a 4-book series that's connected to other multi-book, bigger series, and I sort of know what happens to their story. Could you be quiet for like five minutes, please? Anyways, I think the reason that I love this book so much is because it's like Blood and Ash, but I like the main characters more. I like Poppy and I like Cass, but I love Nyctos so much. He's great. I like the fact that he doesn't know everything, even though he's so old. Not innocent or naive, but like, you'll know what I mean if you've read the books. He doesn't know a lot of things. He's kept to himself over the years. And even though Sarah's only in her 20s, she knows more than him on certain subjects, but the two of them are still trying to sort of figure out themselves and life and social etiquette and how to treat one another and talk to one another and figuring out communication and things, because neither of them have had that. You know, they've both had very different backgrounds but didn't really have people in their lives to treat them normally. So like, I love seeing the dynamic of them figuring things out together and communicating. And Castile is just like absolutely terrifying, scary, and like will rip your head off type of, no one talks to Poppy, really like almost Chad-like, macho man, aggressive. But Nyctos is like quiet, scary, like shadow daddy, silent, deadly, absolutely terrifying, you know, just as terrifying as Cass, if not arguably more, but in a quiet and deadly way. But I love the dragons. I love it so much. Like, that is just the best part, I think, of the story for me. We all know I'm going through a dragon phase, but I love the element of the dragons so much, and their mortal forms and their bluntness, the sense of humor. It just adds another interesting layer and dynamic of characters in this. My brain is feeling a little bit switched on more now that I've actually sat and talked for the last few minutes, rather than just like sitting in silence for myself for the last like 3 hours. So this book is hurting my feelings. Because what do you mean? Like, no. Oh, I actually feel like I could be sick. Oh man, I love these characters way too much. I hate miscommunication tropes, but it's not even that. It's so much more than that. It's just like there's so many secrets and betrayals, and people can't tell other people full truths, and I just want to like scream at these books, but it's so good. Like, I cannot put it down, and I already know that it's gonna end so intense, and I'm just gonna want to keep reading straight away, and that's all I want to do. All I want to do is just read this specific book series. I don't even really care about Blood and Ash right now. Like, I just want to read about Sarah and Nyctos. Like, what do you mean? Okay, I need to go back and read this now because I'm really not okay. Good morning, guys. This book, I think I prefer this teeny little bit more than The Shadow and the Ember, which was a 5-star read for me, which means that this was a 5-star read for me. The way these first 2 books in the series make me feel, oh my god. I don't like spicy books, and I skim through spicy chapters, but for some reason, we all know Jennifer L. Armentrout loves spice. But for some reason in this book, it feels so thoughtful. It's so intentional, and it's very specific to the characters and part of like the plot. Like this, I don't feel like there's spice in this for the sake of spice. It has purpose to do with, I mean, I can't even talk about it if you've not read the books because I don't want to spoil anything, but like our main male character, there's a big part of him that can't connect emotionally. So Serafina and him have a physical relationship, but it's more than that. It's not just a physical thing, but they have a physical relationship. And I love the fact that their physical relationship wasn't like, oh, I'm afraid of him, or I don't like him, or he might not like me. It was like, no, we think each other are attractive. We're both grown adults. I want what I want. And it develops from there. But it's so layered and complex. I love the dragons, I think, more than anything else in this book, to be fair. I still will never get over all the characters having the same names. Like in Blood and Ash, we've got Malik and Malik. Malik and Malik? In my head, they read as Malik, both of them. Nyctos and Nectus, and then Ektos. But then in this book, you've got Penelope. And then in Blood and Ash, the main character is called Penelope. And that Penelope is named after this Penelope. You really do need to use your brain. The way that this has me feeling, I was gonna finish this video, but I don't think I can. I think I need to immediately read more. The reviews for Flesh and Fire book 3, the one in this series after this, not looking good, guys. It looks like it goes downhill a little bit from there. I've seen it described as a filler book. I kind of just want to read it and get it done with, but also like I love these characters in this world, and I don't think my heart is going to be satisfied until I keep reading. So we're going to jump and read Blood and Ash book 5, and then if we have time, Flesh and Fire book 3. We are reading A Soul of Ash and Blood, and then hopefully starting Fire in the Flesh. Also, you should come follow me on Goodreads. My Goodreads is linked down below. Sometimes I leave really thoughtful, well-crafted, detailed reviews over there on books I've read, and other times I just scream. Literally, like, you'll just get my live reactions from me screaming at books, so it's a fun time. Halfway through now, and I had absolutely no idea that this was going to be like, this is book 1 in Cass's perspective, but as told by him in present day. So there's a then and now timeline, but we're getting to relive book 1 through Hawke. And I'm kind of loving it because now I'm getting all like my favorite scenes from book 1. I know what's coming. We get to see what Hawke was thinking at the time. I don't know if the whole book's gonna be like this. I mean, most of it is so far, and I don't know if there's gonna be a plot twist at the end because there's like no other book out in the series other than book 5.5. I'm very much enjoying this. I'm flying through it because I obviously know most of the story anyways, so very exciting. But yeah, I think another like 2 hours and I'll be finished with this book, and then we'll start Flesh and Fire book 3, which I don't know how that's gonna be, but it's so interesting now. Like book 1, I had absolutely no idea what was going on, so now to like relive the events of book 1 and pick up on all like the references and the history and the lore and the crossovers to all the characters in Flesh and Fire is just so satisfying. I feel like I know so much now, and I kind of just love it. I thought this was going to be like a really difficult book to read, or like, again, very bulky, very heavily descriptive and requiring a lot of brain power, but it's not, because this is fun. Though I feel like you could be disappointed if you're reading it because you're like, oh, it kind of gives like filler book vibe energy, like we're not getting anything new in terms of the plot so far. We're sort of just getting a retelling. But I honestly kind of love it because I think Blood and Ash and book 4, the last one, were the best two. Book 2 and 3 were like a bit slow for me to read, but I love book 1, and this is just like book 1 but different point of view, so I'm enjoying it. I finished it. It was definitely a filler book, let's be real. This was just book 1 repackaged with a different point of view. If you read the first chapter in this book and the last chapter, that's pretty much the only additional plot development you get. Did I enjoy it? Yes. I just can't hate this series. I love the characters, I love the world, I love getting the point of view, but did anything new happen? No. Did not know that going into this. Probably definitely would have read it a lot sooner if I had known that. I think I read it at the perfect timing because I just didn't want to have to focus or concentrate or use my brain, and I didn't have to because I already knew the story. So in a way it just felt like a reread of book 1. But I'm excited now to get into Flesh and Fire, and I just realized that there's no other books in this series published except for 5.5, which again, I don't want to read. Please tell me in the comments that I don't have to read it. But there's no Blood and Ash books out yet, and I couldn't find online if any have been announced or a date for them, because usually I can go on and see if there's like a pre-order or anything, but there's nothing for this. So technically we up to date with this book series now, other than book 5 and 5, which I'm just going to continue to ignore. So potentially finished or up to date with book series number 2 in this video, and we're about to read book number 3 in this series. But also apparently the reviews have described that book as, again, could have been an email, you know, nothing really happens, so we'll see. But then that way, in this video, I will have read 5 books and gotten up to date with 3 series. So I'm feeling good about it. I'm feeling great. So ready to smash this last book out. And it's perfect because it's Sunday today, which means tomorrow on Monday I can start fresh. So let's read the final book. I'm gonna be so real with you. This book was just, it was a filler book. I feel like it was the definition of this could have been an email. I feel like if you read chapter 1 and then you read like the last part of the book, that's pretty much it. The plot in the middle, yeah, things could have happened, but this whole book could have been condensed into one chapter in the next book that's going to be the last book. But I still loved it. I just don't think you can make me hate these books. I feel like once you get past like book 2 and 3 of Blood and Ash, you're kind of stuck with Jennifer Armentrout. Like, you're in it. You're gonna enjoy anything at this point, whether it's filler or not. It was giving Happily Ever After towards the end, which is interesting for the 3rd book in a 4-book series. Like, okay, 4 stars for me though, because again, these characters, docking a star because I wanted more of the found family. Like, where was the main cast for 90% of this book? They weren't there. I wanted the Drakens, like everything that I love about this, just there was barely any of it. It was mainly just like 3 or 4 characters in this same thing that took up 80% of the book, this same sort of situation. And I feel like that could have been resolved a lot earlier. Interesting though, only thing it really did serve as was just more understanding into some of the other characters and the villains and getting to know them a little bit more. But besides that, yeah, I love this man though. I can't help it. I just love them. I just love them. And that is me up to date with Blood and Ash, except for book 5.5. I still don't think I want to read it, or at least anytime soon. Please tell me if I need to read it. If it doesn't add to the plot, I'm probably not going to read it. But if I have to read it before reading book 6, whenever that eventually comes out, then I will. But for now, we're going to say, for simplicity's sake, I'm up to date with Blood and Ash, and I'm up to date with Flash and Fire until book 4 comes out later this year. Up to date with the Plated Prisoner series. That is 5 books that we have read in this vlog, and 3 book series that I'm now up to date with and can tick off my list. So now I can start some new books and maybe focus on some of the other books that I need to read that were on my list at the start of this video. If you've made it all the way to the end, thank you so much for watching. I am absolutely exhausted now. I'm gonna go take a nap. I know this was a very long vlog, so maybe you need a nap too. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe, because I make more videos like this and I love sharing them with you guys. So if you're watching and you have watched a few of my videos but you haven't pressed subscribe yet, then why not? Come and join us. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.